Congratulations, Buffalo. They won it. They did it, Garrett. They won the Super Bowl. They beat the Chiefs. That's winning the Super Bowl, right? 5-1 against the Chiefs in the regular season. That's when it matters most. That's when the football matters the most, Garrett. I will say, jokes aside, congratulations to Buffalo. They absolutely destroyed our pitiful attempt at a win. That was probably one of the most pitiful Chiefs performances we've seen in a little while, Garrett.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the previous matchups against Buffalo, we're expecting both offenses to come out with a game plan that is successful against the defenses provided. And it just felt like whatever we had on film, whatever we were looking at specifically matchup-wise, it just wasn't working. And normally we're really good at seeing adjustments at halftime especially. And we didn't adjust coming out of half, and Buffalo played a really good game, was able to shut down our offense completely, had one of the highest pass rushes in terms of success rate, besides the Eagles and Buccaneers Super Bowl. And that's the result that gets put on the field.
Yeah, Mahomes was running for his life. Joey Bosa looked like he was just drafted out of college. And we went through offensive linemen like we were running out of them. They were just out. We do have some good news, though, coming up into the bye week. We have a bye week, first off, which is honestly much needed. I think the boys need to get healthy again. And the boys need a long look at their face and to think about this loss, because it really felt like a lack of effort when I was watching a lot of the defensive snaps. It really just felt like a lack of effort was out there. I mean, Drew Tranquill was burnt toast out there. And the Bills had a game plan that just absolutely exposed our defense. We'll get into all of that information later. It's a trade deadline day. Garrett, let's go over all the moves the Chiefs made.
That's it. There we go. We're done. Yeah. God, it's just, I know everyone out there and their mother was, just yearning for, Breece Hall. Please go out there and get Breece Hall. It's a third-round pick. Guys, we get Breece Hall. Everyone's screaming. Everyone's saying, yippee, yay, let's go Breece Hall. 11 carries. 11 carries for Breece Hall. It doesn't matter, right? Breece Hall was not going to solve the pitiful run game that we had against Buffalo, which was odd because our run game was actually really successful against Buffalo, even without a guy like Breece Hall. But it just seems like we're getting away from the wrong things at the wrong time. And I would have preferred Veach went out there and got some interior D-line help, or even some exterior D-line help and some DNs or some D-tackles. But once again, I'd never got my hopes up. I wasn't checking Twitter every 500 seconds because I knew what was inevitable, and it was that Veach was chilling in Cancun right now, not picking up the phone. And
unless the Jets wanted to return his call about a 4th-round pick for Breece Hall, which everyone's like, if the Jets asked for a 3rd, why don't you give them a 3rd? We gave up a 3rd for Kadarius Toney. We only have 6 picks next year, and we don't have a single 6th or 7th round pick because Veach burned them last year when he was doing the Cam Thomas trade. The Derek Nottie trade this year, the Josh Uche trade. God. Oh, and what was the other one? Because I know we made another one that didn't mean anything besides Cam Thomas and Josh Uche. It's so hard to remember. Oh, freaking Peyton Hendershot. Oh my gosh. Oh, wow. I should have put all 3 of those trades.
It just boils down to Veach just really prefers getting guys through the draft, and I can understand that from a GM's perspective, but that is totally fine when we are not in win now territory in terms of record when it comes to the season, right? Like in previous years, before the trade deadline, we were, 5-2. We were top of our division at the time, but right now we're in the hunt. We're trying to crawl ourselves back to the top of the division, and we're obviously struggling in certain areas, and we just don't make an effort.
Yeah, here's a simple move that I would have loved to make. I mean, maybe it's a move that can't be made now because the Cardinals won last night, and the Cardinals have a little bit of momentum. I don't know. They have 3 wins on the season. I feel like their season still is
Cowboys
over.
are also trash, so.
Yes, Garrett. But Calais Campbell, a guy we've talked about, rumor had it he could be had for a 7th-round pick. Currently, we don't have a 7th-round pick in this upcoming draft. I don't know about the next year. But yeah, I mean, maybe he demands his release. That's how we got Terrell Suggs all those years back, was when he demanded his release from the Cardinals. So, but I just don't really see that from Calais Campbell, man. He got drafted by the Cardinals, and I saw him pregame hyping up his team, to win against the Cowboys. It was him leading that huddle, and that was sick. And I'm like, man, I want him. Like, I want Calais Campbell on this team because this team needs some juice. Like,
it needs some juice and some hunger. I just feel like we have a lot of, I'm not going to point out names, but I feel like a lot of people can see on the field, we have a lot of contentness on this football team. And it's like, I realize we've been really successful over the last 5-6 years. And I feel like they get into this mode of, we've already been there, right? Like I made my millions and I won my rings, right? And we just need more, push. We need more drive from guys that have been there before for these guys that haven't been there. And it's just getting to the point where we have so many guys on the roster that have already reached that peak that they're just kind of content with maybe we don't get there again.
Yeah. And I also think too, with that comes like, you have freaking, you have guys like Worthy and you have guys like Rice who haven't really felt that win quite as well. I know Rice technically won one, but I don't know, Garrett. This loss felt like a lot of play calling issues too. Like it felt like Andy Reid did the classic Andy Reid thing of, all right, we're going to hold the playbook close to our chest until the playoffs, and then we'll unleash it. There were a couple plays, and this is what we said at the bar, which is funny, but there were a couple plays where we're like, okay, when we want to get yards, it seems like we dial up a genius play and get it. And that was the 4th and 17, that where crazy pass blocking coverage. Well, freaking, we had to get into why Wanya Morrison had to come into the game, and oh boy, you never see a right tackle getting helped out by both Noah Gray and Kareem Hunt just to block one guy. We really had to do 3v1s to help Wanya Morris out. But it was that 4th and 17 we got. It was that first play when there was only 20 seconds left in the fourth quarter, that pass to Worthy. And then it felt like, everything else just wasn't really a good play call. Didn't really go anywhere. Didn't fool anybody. It just felt like nothing was working.
Yeah, we get into this realm of Andy goes from it's kind of like he's like Jekyll and Hyde. He's kind of like got like the Green Goblin mask over his shoulder, like in his ear, like, go back to your conservative play calling, Andy. Do it. And then, that's the result, right? So we know what we're capable of. We know we're our best. And it's like, it's just creating these like different motions and these smoke and mirrors. And I feel like we were incredibly stationary last night. It was very base, like very just line up where we're supposed to be and run the play instead of getting all these motions, moving people out of position into different order. And I just feel like the creativity wasn't there. And maybe that's because we were getting, hailed all night up front and, we couldn't handle business in the trenches, which credit to them. They had a really good game plan there. They noticed our weaknesses on the line, and that was Kingsley was getting assaulted all night pretty much. Jalen Moore, I feel like a lot of people give him a lot of flack for how he's performed, and I understand that. But at the same time, the kid went out there and performed at a level which I think he was one of the better ones out there last night. I think Jawan Taylor had a really bad night. Trey Smith had a terrible night. I understand he's come back from an injury, but we can't be paying you, the highest paid guard in the league, and you give a performance like that, right? So we're getting down to our, our skin and bones when it comes to offensive line play last night. And obviously, really great news with Joshua Simmons being back in the building on Monday. The full news really still hasn't come out about that. I'm sure it will in time. Who knows? Maybe it won't. But would have really loved to see him out there against Buffalo.
Yeah, we'll quickly go over some of those injuries and some of those, some of the just a quick roster transaction stuff. Jawan Taylor, he went out with an injury in that game. He was also having a very horrible game before that anyway. But Wanya Morris came in and was arguably worse by a large metric. You start to love Jawan Taylor when you see Wanya Morris go out there at right tackle and get absolutely obliterated. And we completely have to change all of our offensive line blocking schemes just to account for Wanya
Jawan
Morris
Taylor
being
was
in
having
the
a
game.
really phenomenal last couple weeks. Beginning of the season, he was having his struggles.
Or before
the Bills game, he was having a really great halfway through the season. right? And he came back from a lot of like really early struggles in the first couple weeks, performed really well the last 5 weeks, honestly, and just really struggled against a pretty strong Buffalo defensive scheme. And he comes out the game and it's instantly noticeable how much quicker this pressure gets to Mahomes. And we'll talk about that as well. It's like people need to realize when Joshua Simmons left, right? This was, I think, 4 weeks ago now.
Yeah, it's been a while.
His average depth of target. We're going to talk about some stuff that's a little bit more in depth. His average depth of target, so where the ball is meeting the receiver's hands, right, was I think 9.5 yards. The single game, the game after he left, it dropped by I think 4.5 yards. So he was at 5.5 yards when our receivers caught the ball. It's been significantly going down with each game. So we see our time to throw and our average depth of target significantly drop when Joshua Simmons leaves the field. Obviously, when he gets back out there, I'm hoping that we get a little bit more solid, let Mahomes get a little bit more comfortable, and really do what we know that he can do. And I'm not going to take away all the pressure for all the blame from Mahomes as well, because there were times where
is horrible.
we gave him time, he had his read, and he just made the wrong throw. On that interception, on that 3rd and 10, Kelsey was wide open for a first down, just completely wide open. He just chucks the deep ball.
Mahomes was very one read focused that entire game. I noticed Rashee Rice was open on curls. I noticed lots of players were open within 2 seconds, and Mahomes would throw the contested pass. It seemed like Buffalo really did their homework and learned who's the first read on these plays, and they made sure to cover that person. And
oh my God, that fourth down play to Kelsey, dude, he was looking at him the entire time. Whole time.
Yeah. I mean,
whole time.
It was
there was not a single other person he was throwing that ball to. Not
and
one.
You know what's funny? Before this game, too, we saw the stat where Mahomes is one of the quarterbacks who has the highest completion percentage to his first target read. And that is a hard stat to track because how the hell do you know who the actual real
read is?
Yeah. But I don't know. I'm not saying Mahomes is a first read quarterback. It's completely BS, but I think he's gotten comfortable in the fact that Andy Reid calls good plays, and
he also has the highest completion percentage on the second read. But we don't need to go too in depth on all that.
Hey, good point. But also, he had a horrible game. This was one of his worst games. I think it was his lowest completion percentage that he's had in his career.
Funny part about that, complete contrast, that was the highest completion percentage of Josh Allen's career.
Yeah.
So he had his best game passing in terms of percentage, and Mahomes had his worst game passing. So realistically, could not have played a worse game, and we still only lost by 7.
Only lost by 7. I agree, Garrett. And here's the thing with Mahomes having such a bad game. I think a lot of it falls on the play calling. We had 4.5 yards a carry from Kareem Hunt only. But we only gave it to him 11 times. This is why you joked about Breece Hall not being an impact on the Chiefs, because he'd only get 11 carries. So, Kareem Hunt's 49 yards now becomes Breece Hall's 70 yards.
Yeah.
Because we still don't do much. We still don't run the ball.
And he was averaging even more before halftime, and then we come out of halftime, 3 straight passes for a 3 and out. It's like we're running the ball successfully. Why are we not continuously getting on the ground against statistically one of the worst rush defenses in football?
And
Buffalo was not afraid. Buffalo was not afraid to just keep it on the ground. They're totally fine letting Josh do his thing, get these really good handoffs, and when he needs to,
they control the
good throws.
They controlled the pace. They had a great scheme. They are one, and here's what I will commend about the Bills, and they have unlocked the formula. That's what I'm more scared of going down the line, is they've unlocked the formula that other teams will use to beat us. And what is it? Do not abandon the run no matter what. No matter if your first 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 run plays get stopped, keep running the ball. And Buffalo said, we're going to keep running the ball. James Cook got a couple negative runs initially, but then he started ripping them off, because if you just keep running the ball, Spags' defense with the personnel he has, you can't disguise the problem for too long. You can't have linebackers crashing down, getting the perfect read every time. It's eventually going to break, and it did. That's why everyone, I feel like with the Ravens too, everyone online can see it. They're like, why do the Ravens never run the ball against the Chiefs? I don't know. Maybe they would win the game more because I think that's really the recipe to beat us is just continue to run the ball. Oh, they haven't allowed an 100-yard rusher. I think that stat has always been a little BS because people don't run the ball against us. I don't understand why. It's like they're allergic to doing that. But
now James Cook did break that record. Did break that streak. He did get 140.
And I commend him for that because he actually had an amazing game and he was getting 4 yards a carry. And you know what, Garrett? 4 yards a carry is pretty good. It's not like an elite game, but it's because they gave him the ball.
It's because they gave him the ball
27 times. 27 times they gave him the football. 27 carries. That's how you win. That's how you win the game. They controlled it. It makes me upset that we didn't even give our running back 15 carries because even that might have been a difference. Another turning point in this game, Garrett, that I think is why we could attribute a big loss to. Hollywood Brown wide open down the sideline right before half. Bam, he's tackled at the 1. Okay, we have plenty of time. 3 times to punch it in the end zone. Embarrassing. How did you not get in the end zone once? How did you not get it in the end zone? You are the Chiefs offense, and you could not get it in the end zone.
I think this boils down to one thing. Why are we afraid to run quarterback sneaks now? Yeah. There was a fluke injury 7 years ago, and we still have not run a quarterback sneak since. We're on the half-yard line, and we're not running the ball. We run the ball the first play with Kareem, get stuffed. But why are we not just running quarterback sneak 3 times in a row?
That's what the Bills do.
Yard.
That's what the Bills do. And you know who else does it? The Seahawks. The Seahawks against the Commanders, the Seahawks literally had a high-flying offense that was destroying them through the air. They had bummies, Cody White or whatever, get a receiving touchdown too, whatever. But what do they do when they're at the 1-yard line? They gave their tight end a quarterback sneak. We used to do that with Blake Bell. We don't even do that anymore. Like, just no. Can we?
That's like you're telling me as an NFL coordinator, you can't say I'm going to sit right behind Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith, put my 3rd or 4th string tight end under center, and just lunge over the line behind 2 of the best interior offensive linemen in football.
Hell,
what are we doing?
Let Gardner Minshew do it. I think you could put Gardner Minshew in the game, and he is a very mobile quarterback, and he's a gritty quarterback, and he's a quarterback that's going to want to hit somebody. Put him in the game to do that because
it's just we had a fluke injury with Mahomes 6-7 years ago, and it just scared Andy Reid so much that we've never run a quarterback sneak since, and it shows. In that situation, that's what you do. You know who does that every time? Buffalo. The Ravens, the Eagles, the Lions. You can't run 3 plays from the 1-yard line, actually the half-yard line, and not score in an NFL offensive game. You just can't do it.
And I think that spiraled to the desperation to start throwing it 3 times out of the second half. We got ball after half. There was a world where we score before halftime, and then we get ball after half, and then we score again, and now we're in the lead. But no, that world did not come true because we played panicked. And I felt like that was just...
And let alone...
Buffalo got us uncomfortable. They got us uncomfortable.
Let alone coming out of half, right? We get those 4 extra points there from being on the 1-yard line. At the end of the game, when we're in our goal-to-go situation, we only need to get a field goal now. We don't need to go all the way down the field and score a touchdown to tie. We only need a field goal. And it just completely changes the game.
And even if Buffalo does make that field goal, it's less bad too. So, but they don't.
Obviously,
they doink it, and we got a chance.
Props to Buffalo's defense, but I feel like when it comes to being on the 1-yard line, that's not a defensive stop. That's the offense failing. If we were on the 5-yard line, I understand that's a defensive stop, right? But if you are on if you need 1 yard as an NFL offense and you do not get that 1 yard, it's not on the defense. It's on you. It's on you.
Okay, fair enough. I will say, Jackson, our associate producer, and we will get into more of our introduction because I think Garrett and I got so passionate about this Bills recap. We're just going to finish the recap before we even introduce the podcast. But he did bring up the Rashee Rice Wildcat formations that have been running the ball. I like those. Those like Wildcats out of the pistol. They've been really great for us, and it's a good way to orchestrate running, especially with I liked Rashee Rice out of the draft as more of a running back after the catch is what I would call him. And now we're using him more like you would see Deebo Samuel used.
But that's the
bit.
creativity we talked about, right? And we
yeah,
didn't see
well, that went
anything like
away
that
in the
Bills
second
game.
half. It actually did go away in the second half because,
Yeah.
well, he did have his rushing touchdown in the first half, and then
Right.
Kareem Hunt had his rushing touchdown in the first half.
And then we just, just went away from it.
Yeah. How did we score 21 points?
I feel like we're so Debbie Downer, and it's like we played one of the worst offensive games probably in a long time.
I don't think the Bills are that good. I still don't think.
I still disagree. Good. I understand, but they're always going to be successful when they got the guy they have at quarterback. I know a lot of people look at Josh Allen. They're like, oh, he doesn't perform. He does perform in the playoffs. His defense is the one that just completely just shuts it down the moment they get it anywhere in the postseason. But anytime you have a guy like that quarterbacking, like we have with Mahomes, you're going to be able to be in any game you play, right?
Now,
so,
yeah, I will say they played their heart. They played their asses off. They played better. They had the game plan. I will give credit where credit is due. I just don't think they're as good as everyone's making them out to be. But who knows? Still, I do
think we were correct though. I think when I said last week that this is almost starting to turn into divisional games, it felt like a divisional game.
I'll give them credit. It's a rivalry. It's a freaking rivalry. Anyone who pretends it's not a rivalry, it's a rivalry.
Everyone's saying like, oh well, because they can't beat us in the playoffs, it's not a rivalry. That's not true.
No, it's a rivalry, and I'm scared.
And Josh Allen is quite literally the only quarterback that can consistently beat Mahomes, besides Burrow. But it's like,
now we don't
play them nearly enough.
Now let's talk about what Sean McDermott and the Bills DC did to stop Mahomes, because I thought it was quite genius. The Commanders actually did a lot of it last week, and they gave the hint, the element. The Bills built the formula. How do you beat the Chiefs offense? How do you beat the Chiefs defense? Run, hurry up offense. Because the Chiefs don't have the depth on the interior line. They need to be switching out those guys constantly. They've been switching out their edge rushers constantly. Spags wins games when he's allowed to play chess. He's allowed to put in Jaden Hicks in silly situations in slot corner. He's allowed to move in Shamari Connor.
Don't let us sub.
Christian Roley-Watt. Yeah, exactly, Garrett. They didn't let us sub. Why did Ty Johnson have a rushing touchdown? Well, because Buffalo made a big play when they were in a passing formation with Ty Johnson as the third down back. The personnel the Chiefs had in the game at the time was 3 safeties. They had Christian Roland-Wallace in the game, and I don't even think Chris Jones was in, and the Bills ran hurry up. They didn't sub anybody. That's the other thing. There's one thing running hurry up, but you can't sub anybody out. You can't. Then the Bills didn't sub anybody out. They run 2 tight end sets anyway, so they already had the bodies and numbers advantage on the goal line, and they're perfectly fine handing it off to Ty Johnson on the goal line because they know they're going to win that matchup. Veach couldn't sub people in. Jaden Hicks played a career low 4 snaps. It was Veach couldn't get his subs in, or Spags couldn't get his subs in, and you saw what happened. The Bills were able to score. The Chiefs have found a way to allow receiving running backs to continue to eat them alive. The Chiefs have found ways to allow tight ends to eat them alive again. We almost shut off the tight ends destroying us allegations, Garrett. If you remember, that was the story of last season in our podcast. But we let Tyler Conklin week 1 go off against us, and we haven't heard his name ever again.
Yeah.
And then now we have Dawson Knox get a 30-yard rip.
It kind of happens when
and
you have Drew Tranquill mostly lining up at safety.
Yeah, Drew Tranquill lining up a lot against Kincaid one-on-one. Drew Tranquill was a safety in college at Notre Dame. Those days are long behind Drew Tranquill.
Yeah, you're not built like a safety anymore, brother.
You
are not built like that.
Drew Tranquill got burned all game, Garrett. They knew exactly what to do, because how are you going to match up against a 3 linebacker front like the Chiefs like to play? Run 2 tight ends, run wide receivers out of the flat. They also used one of our plays on 4th and 1 against us. It wasn't, we ran it on a 4th and 1. They ran it, I think, on a 3rd and 5 to ice the game. It was when they faked the handoff to James Cook, and they just had him run the sprint to the flat while Josh Allen.
That is a classic.
And we used to run that all the time. And somehow McDuffie, Cook, and I think it was Bolton were all fooled, and it was kind of embarrassing. I wish I had the clip to show you guys where they all crashed into each other.
Yeah, they all crashed
James
down,
Cook
and then James Cook just a little swing.
Bad.
Ease what it is. And we can talk about couple people having some good games. I mean, Mike Pennell went out there, played well for us. Good to have him back.
We don't love PFF, but he was the second highest graded player per PFF on our team.
But it's just nice to see a guy like whenever he's in, it was nice to see him giving exponential effort, right?
Oh yeah, it was.
There's a specific D tackle. There's a specific D tackle that we have that doesn't give a lot of effort at times, and it's very noticeable. And we have not heard his name in a very long time. So hopefully, you know, he can get his stuff together and get back to where we know he can be as a player. But man, he has not been performing up to his contract at all.
Well, and I think part of the reason that I gave him some slack was, yes, he is out there so much now because there's no other depth.
No depth.
We got a little depth now. We'll see what that...
We need less Jerry Tillery and more Mike Pennell, though.
Well, I think that's only because the first week back for Pennell, he got less snaps, but he still got decent snaps. Jerry Tillery is out there a lot, though. He was out there. He snapped there. Well, I mean, I have the numbers. Why not exactly just pull them up? I mean, Naughty had 19 snaps. You said Tillery had 34 snaps?
34.
Oh, my. Wow. Yeah, he did. And he was the third lowest graded player on defense. Pennell had a solid 20 snaps there. But, yeah, I mean, the only standouts on defense for me were Trent McDuffie had a freaking game, and I would have given him a have-a-day graphic if I wasn't so butthurt. And Nick Bolton also played pretty well the entire game. I mean, he's just... Nick Bolton seems to be one of those guys that actually cares about tackling now. It just felt there was a couple plays, and I'm going to call him out. Shamari Connor at one point, and I like Shamari Connor. I'm not a Shamari Connor hater like every other Chiefs fan is. There were just a couple plays where Shamari Connor just gave such a half-assed attempt at a tackle, and it was really pissing me off. And honestly, one of the things that was pissing me off was we were stopping them on their tush pushes and their 1-yard gains initially. We would get the initial push, and we would have them stopped. Yeah. And then our defense would be like, cool, we just won this rep, and give up, and then they would push him into the end zone. That's how they scored their touchdown. Was like we stopped them initially, but then the Bills got their second push, and boom, we just folded. It was like a lack of effort.
You know, and to kind of close out my thoughts, it's like I feel like a lot of Chiefs fans in the kingdom are in panic mode, right? They're like, they see we're 5-4, and they're thinking we need to, break down the house to make it to the postseason. Guys, 2021, we were 3-4. Still made the postseason, still made the Super Bowl, right? So I'm not going to press the panic button just yet. It can always be worse. Look at Green Bay on Sunday, right? They put up 13 points on offense. They didn't punt the ball a single time. How does that happen? So
that's what happens when Rico Dowdle controls the game, man.
I wish
we had Rico Dowdle.
I'm just saying, like, it's like you put up 13 points, you don't punt the ball. It can always be worse, gentlemen. It can always be worse. We're going to be able to smooth the ship. We've got a great coaching staff, great players. We know we can right the ship. We know where we can be. Joshua Simmons is back. Offensive line is going to be significantly better going forward. So I'm not going to press the panic button just yet.
And Garrett, I will say this. I'll close out my thoughts on this Bills game as well. I think the offensive line was in a bad situation. They were down a man at left tackle. They were down a man for one play at right guard, I guess, when Kingsley went down, or at left guard when Kingsley went down. But also, like, you know, and then when Jawan Taylor goes down at the right tackle position, everything changes. And the offensive line was just getting beat the whole time.
God, Amos is so bad.
The
fact we kept him over Esapole is crazy. I know he's back, but like, holy bro.
We did get Esapole back.
God.
Yeah. I was really kind of rooting for Wanya, especially at right tackle. I was like, I think Wanya Morris is a solid right tackle.
I was rooting for him. I was really just.
I thought he was. So I was like, okay, you guys only hate him because he's a bad left tackle. Well, let's see what he can do at right tackle, where he was actually drafted to be. And it's like, oh well.
You know, maybe we go another direction there, brother. Maybe we go another direction.
But we're getting our offensive line back. You saw how much it made the offense better. The other thing that I think needs to get changed is what Maxwell Harrison said about Worthy, which I think is a point that I've made on the podcast previously when we were doing wide receiver evaluations. Worthy Xavier Worthy at Texas had this tendency to like run half speed when it wasn't a play designed for him, or he wouldn't always look for the ball. He got a lot better about that in the NFL, but Harrison still said he had elements of that, and that's what he was like dialing in on in order to cover Worthy. He's like, oh, I know Worthy's getting the ball this play. I'm going to run full speed. I know it's a streak. And it's why he said that in a presser is dumb because, I mean, we listen. The Chiefs players listen. The coaches listen to that stuff. They're going to look into that. And that's going to be erased as a problem going forward, I feel like. And so thank you, Bills, because I think this loss only makes us better going into the bye. I feel like we needed a wake-up call, even though this whole season is supposed to feel like a wake-up call. I think the Chiefs have gotten to the point where they're so used to doing this, they're so used to winning, that even when we're not winning, it's still like, well, we're going to get to the playoffs eventually. We always do. So I think that Bills game was a nice wake-up call. Hey, you had some easier opponents. Welcome to another harder opponent. Nick Wright had a really funny thing that he said that I want to reiterate. We lost this game on purpose, actually, because we want to beat Buffalo in Buffalo when they have the AFC Championship, when it will be the last ever game in their stadium, and it's a loss to the Chiefs. That would be so poetic. And you know what, Garrett? I really want that to happen now. I think that would be super funny to have their last game ever in their stadium be a loss to the Chiefs. That may have prevented them from the Super Bowl.
I mean, hey, if that happens, that'd be pretty awesome story to tell, but it's how the playoffs are going to shake down now. Any team in the AFC can make a push, so it'll be interesting to see how that seeding drops down.
The Colts, we play them soon, but they might be good. I know they just lost, which is funny to say that they might be good. I think that they lost in a very fluky fashion. I think that normally they win that game, and I do think that they're still good, and I do not think Daniel Jones is a fraud. I think he is.
They had six turnovers, and they only lost by 7.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that just doesn't happen.
And they just got Sauce Gardner, so
that's a perfect transition, Garrett. But before we perfectly transition into more trade deadline talk, let's introduce the show. Welcome back, watchers, to Talkin Chop. I am your host, David Pokorny. We are at 32 minutes into the show, and we were so passionate about this Bills game that we didn't even say who we are.
We just had to get it going, brother.
We did. And now I'm the runner of the Instagram. Go check it out, Talkin Chop. We do all this content, having a great time. We have a little debate post right now out that you guys can go debate all of the worst Veach moves because everyone's mad that the trade deadline went the way it is. We understand why it didn't go that way. We don't have money in picks, and that's why that's why nothing happened. We don't have money and we don't have picks. So
when you don't have the room for players and you don't have the capital to give up for them, you're not going to get much movement, big brother.
And Speaking of big brother movement, Garett Aimutis, our offensive line coach over at Blue Valley North, he is always here to join us as well. And then our associate producer, Jackson, in the background, telling us that it's time for an ad break. So look at that. Everything's coming
Once again,
together.
Another perfect transition. Thank you once again to our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. Use code SHOP for $100 free play when you play $5. On the Instagram, you'll see my picks from time to time. You can tag along and see if we can make some guapo together. But thank you once again, Underdog Fantasy. Best way to put some dollars on some football, brother.
Well, speaking of dollars, there was a lot of dollars spent in this in this trade deadline. I'm not going to lie, it was a lot more interesting of a trade deadline than I thought it was going to be. I thought this was going to be the most boring deadline of recent memory. And it actually surprised me because the Jets decided to trade all of their good players, except for Breece Hall, a player that everybody wanted the Chiefs to get. But hey, I mean, you got to shout out Garrett just ripping the Benjamin right there.
The inhaler, yes, that's a little left over from my pneumonia, but it was about that time.
Yeah, we got Garrett back and healthy, but dude, let's talk about some of the big moves that happened at this trade deadline. Sauce Gardner, we already talked about going to the Colts. Now, you are very vocal about saying that the Jets
fleeced them by a mile.
Okay, fair enough.
By a mile.
They ended up getting 2 first-round picks and Adonai Mitchell. Adonai Mitchell, a player I'm very high on, a player I think is just kind of being, stifled by opportunity. There's too many mouths to feed on the Colts, and A.D. Mitchell has shown up when he's gotten opportunities. He's also shown that he likes to drop the ball at the 1-yard line and throw interceptions in his Colts career. So that might be why he had a new fresh start in the Jets organization where he's getting tons of targets. Maybe good for him. However, Sauce Gardner, they have him under contract for 5.5 years, Garrett. The Colts have Sauce Gardner for 5.5 years. So if he is good, and I still think he's very good, I think he's only been getting these allegations of being not the same player he was only because he's on the Jets. And it is a lot harder as a corner to be good when your team is trash. So I think this is a great move. He's going to a great defense, and he's reuniting with old friend Alec Pierce. And I think it's going to work wonders for the Colts. I really do. And also the Jets are still paying him a little bit of money, not all of it, but so the Colts did get some good discounts there. I think it was a win-win for both teams, but Garrett does think the Jets got a massive haul.
I think Sauce is still a great player. I just think 2 first-round picks and a first-round pick wide receiver. So essentially 3 first-round picks for any player that's not a premier in their prime edge rusher or a premier quarterback. It's just a steep price to pay. I understand they have him on contract for a long time, but that contract's gonna start eating up very quickly. It's most likely backloaded. Great thing for the Colts right now, though, they don't have to pay a quarterback yet.
And great thing for the Colts, they have an AFC that is probably wide open. I think the Colts look at the AFC and they go, okay, Josh Allen's going to usually have a better record.
They're in win-now mode. They're in win-now mode.
Well, they look at the AFC and they're like, Josh Allen's usually going to have a better record. Joe Burrow is injured. Lamar is injured. Mahomes
the Chiefs are bleeding.
The Chiefs are bleeding. And the Steelers and Pats and Bills might be your biggest competition. The Jags are kind of good. The Texans are kind of and they're in your division. Like the Chargers and Broncos exist, but you're looking around and you're like, there's not a lot of quarterbacks with playoff experience that are in high positions. Drake May has no playoff experience. So Daniel Jones surprisingly does. He has a very, very good playoff win, a very dominant playoff performance. That's why I say Daniel Jones is better than Derek Carr. And he will, by the end of his career, Garrett, Daniel Jones will be better than Derek Carr. I'm so tired of people overrating freaking Derek Carr. And many people have said...
You've seen people overrating Derek Carr? I think he's like Garrett, the most rated quarterback ever. Like everyone knew he's just like that slightly above average guy. I've never seen anyone overrate Derek Carr.
I don't even think he's above average. I think he's as good as his brother. He didn't win a single playoff game. You can't.
I understand that, but at the same time, the Raiders were god awful. They didn't have anybody.
That does not excuse 10 years of not winning a playoff game.
I'm just saying.
And Daniel Jones was throwing to Isaiah Hodges when he won his playoff game. I'm just going to say Daniel Jones had no wide receivers either, and he proved that he could get it done for one playoff game. So all that to say, I'm a Daniel Jones believer. I'm so glad he finally got an opportunity. We're going to beat his ass, though, when he comes to Arrowhead. When is this game? On week 12, November 22nd.
They're totally going to flex that game, right? There's no way it stays noon. There's no way.
That might be a really good matchup, low key. But that one's coming up, honestly. But yeah. And then we have a quick turnaround to play Dallas, who's trash. But yeah, look at that. Week 10 bye week, guys. We're going to be on the bye. It's going to be so nice. I got a little off topic with the Daniel Jones things, but there were some other trades too that I think are worth mentioning. We said the Jets are selling everybody good. Quinnen Williams, only for a first-round pick in Mozzie Smith, I think in a second-round pick too, to go to the Cowboys. The Cowboys were buyers, which was really funny. They also got Logan Wilson.
Still a good haul. I think that's a pretty good haul for Quinnen Williams, though.
Yeah, I think Quinnen Williams is really good, and I actually would have maybe been worth... Garrett, would you have done that trade if you were the Chiefs? Would you have given up a first and a second for Quinnen Williams? I don't know, but... We don't have the money for Quinnen Williams, which is why you can't make that trade. We do not have
the money for Quinnen Williams. Now, if we did, I think it would have been definitely on the table. Do we have someone to the extent of Mozzie Smith to add to that trade, though? In terms of D-tackle?
Mozzie Smith is a bust. I mean, he's.
What do you think of first round, second round, and they take Jerry Tillery
or Christian Fulton?
Christian Fulton, get it, dude? That's another thing too. We are paying Christian Fulton so much money to not play football.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that here in a second. Let's round it out with some wide receiver moves. Jacoby Myers to Jacksonville. I do like that for Jacksonville. They have injuries at the position, and I think they need to make a push now this year too. Seattle also making their push with Rashid Shaheed. They didn't need a wide receiver. You just watched what they did to the Commanders. You wouldn't think they needed a wide receiver. It doesn't hurt to get another one, though. So I love that move for them. Jalen Phillips to Philadelphia. Dude, only for a third-round pick for that former first-round talent, Jalen Phillips, who I think is still good. He's on a contract here, but they will get a compensatory pick in the third round if he leaves in free agency. That's why I would have been okay, Garrett, giving a third-round pick for Breece Hall, maybe, if you get the compensatory pick if he's good, and you get the third-round pick right back. So
yeah,
a lot of these other trades, I don't really think here are worth mentioning. They are really good depth moves, and I think everybody at the trade deadline really did a good job of solidifying holes on their team. Even the Jets, I think at least the Jets didn't just get picks; they also got players with upside.
Yeah, the Jets are also in sell now mode. Like they realize season's over. We're going to try and stack our future, which they were pretty successful in doing. I mean, they have a ton of first round picks now.
Oh
so
yeah. Hey, maybe they'll get my boy Arch Manning.
Maybe the Jets will be pretty good.
Maybe they'll get my boy Arch Manning. I feel like I'm one of the only people now who still.
And I think a lot of people like, well, those picks that they got from the Colts are going to be like, mid-20s, right? It's like
those people were me, Garrett.
I know it was you. Who did we get at 21, David?
Okay, fine. That's a good point.
Just saying, you can get really good players later in the first round. So,
and we got freaking Josh Simmons at pick 32. So hey, the first rounder's a first rounder. Speaking of first rounders, right into what were some Brett Veach mistakes? Because right now everybody wants to hate on Brett Veach, and that's fine.
You do too.
I think. What did you say?
I said, and you do too.
Well, I think he's a little overrated as a GM. I think that he is still one of the best GMs in football right now. I think he's a top 5 GM.
We should not treat him as like GM God, though. That's
what I think I'm getting pissed off about.
That would be Howie Roseman.
I think that people like to treat Veach as GM God and that every move he makes is perfect and trust the process. Veach is always right. And to an extent, I was like that too. But recently, some of these moves have been questionable even before they were made. And I did the classic, oh, well, Veach made it, so it must be a great signing. Christian Fulton is a great example of that. Christian Fulton was a bust of a first-round pick. Veach loves these first-round pick redemption projects. I'm sorry to go into Christian Fulton like that. He was a bust of a first-round pick. He had a pretty good season with the Chargers last year. The Chargers did not choose to bring him back due to the fact that Christian Fulton is a very injury-prone cornerback. His ankle has been eating him alive, and when we traded for him, he was injured. When we signed him, not traded for him, we signed him in free agency. He was injured. 2 years, $20 million. Okay, fine. That's an okay deal. It's not an okay deal. It's actually really big overpay, but it's an okay deal if there are outs in the contract. Well, why has Veach had to start doing these guarantees, these incredibly high guarantees? You see that in Fulton's contract. You see that in Jawan's contract, and you see it in Elijah Mitchell's contract. The 3 ones I have the biggest problem with. Fulton, $20 million. His dead cap
just
hits
sit on the bench.
Yeah, he's a healthy scratch. I mean, a healthy scratch is a sign that the coaching staff and the organization, they'd rather just not have you out there. He doesn't play special teams. He's not starting at corner anymore, so he's just not going to play. And that is just $10 million that we really could have needed. And the reason why I am not mad at Veach, by the way, for not making a move at the trade deadline, because it is incredibly hard to do that when you have no money. We have $3 million in cap space, and we have so much debt.
But that's also his fault, so.
Okay, fair enough. That is a good point. Yeah, we're going back to the Elijah Mitchell. I'm glad it's a 1 year because we're done with that. But these little moves make a difference. $2.5 million, 1.35 in guarantees, meaning if you cut him, it's a $1.4 million penalty. You can't, and he's a healthy scratch all season too.
And if Clyde's getting in before you, bro, you're done. Like, I'm sorry.
Exactly, Garrett. That's what I was going to say. If they wanted Clyde Edwards-Helaire over you and we paid you this much money, it's another desperate move to fill a hole. And it was another injured player. Like, why are we signing injured players? And then obviously everyone wants to talk about the Jawan Taylor contract. I didn't realize how bad it was, so I looked at it even more so. Yeah, $20 million a year for a pretty okay right tackle isn't good. I think the Jalen Moore contract is a very good friendly deal, and I'm glad we learned our lesson about that. But $60 million guaranteed, and we are tied to Jawan Taylor. We are tied to him, and he leads the league in penalties since he signed this deal. So I get it. He has been a lot better this year. He's apparently been dealing with injuries. All that's fine. It's overall a move that makes it very hard to make any other better moves that could help the team right now. Now
it is just a shackling problem that we have. We are shackled to players that are either not performing or just aren't on the field.
Now, we talked about draft misses. I think that's kind of a hard thing to pin Veach for because he's a draft hitter. I think where Veach does his best work is in the draft and
late rounds.
And yeah, late rounds, because Clyde was the first round pick. Felix Anudike-Uzomah was a first round pick. I don't think I'm out on Felix yet. I think he's not nearly worth a first round pick, Garrett. He was injured all of this season. He was having an okay camp. It definitely was a homer
If
pick.
the draft was not in Kansas City, we would not have taken him. We probably would have traded back.
Okay, yes, we would have. And I think that might be a Clark Hunt thing. But that's why I didn't put the Felix Anudike-Uzomah one in my slideshow here. The Clyde draft pick was pretty bad, in my opinion. Because at the time, we all were like scratching our heads when they picked him. They're like,
we're like, dang, that's kind of an odd pick.
Yeah, considering the three better running backs on the board and T. Higgins was a highly touted draft prospect. T. Higgins went right after him. Jonathan Taylor, DeAndre Smith,
that's a rough
J.K.
one.
Dobbins.
Oh, my God. Imagine if we had T. Higgins right now.
Imagine if we had Jonathan Taylor, the best running back in the league right now, who is still that good however many years later. But I'm never going to harp on Veach for missing picks. I, again, think this one was kind of like we had the luxury of picking whoever we wanted.
I honestly really loved Clyde coming out of college. I just think the way he plays football, for whatever reason, didn't fit our scheme, even though at the time it seemed like it would have. And it was a really unfortunate timing, because I think he could have played well, maybe for another team, but it just never panned out. And then he had the injuries and all that good stuff.
And then this is the only other one I want to talk about because I don't think the DK Metcalf, Mecole Hardman one was that bad. I saw a lot of comments saying, oh, Mecole Hardman was so much worse than DK Metcalf. If we had picked DK Metcalf over Mecole Hardman, it would change everything. First off, it actually didn't end up mattering. Mecole Hardman had 700 yards his rookie year. Mecole Hardman won many Super Bowls. He came back, got a game-winning touchdown in the Super Bowl. Mecole Hardman was actually he wasn't amazing, but he wasn't it wasn't a whiff. Because
is he what you want out of that round? No, but was he serviceable and did well for us? Yes.
Well, and here's why I put Clyde versus Jonathan Taylor over Metcalf versus Mecole Hardman. I don't think Metcalf's that good. I think Metcalf's all right, and he had great years, and I think he's like an upper tier wide receiver. But Jonathan Taylor's the best running back in the NFL. DK Metcalf was a pretty good wide receiver, and he's doing all right on the Steelers. He's doing all
I'm
right.
not gonna lie, I thought DK Metcalf out of college was about to get hit so hard with some PED screens. I thought it was gonna be so bad. I thought he was juicing so hard.
So obviously we put the Sky Moore one here. The only reason why this one is here is because we traded back 4 spots, because Veach does do this, and I do think it works sometimes and it doesn't other times. He loves to trade back 1 spot when he thinks that he can still get his player that he wants on the board just by moving back 4 spots. He did do it with the Eagles, and that's how we got Josh Simmons. He knew the Eagles weren't going to take him, but he learned his lesson. That was only moving back 1 spot. This, on the other hand, you move back 4 spots. Tyquan Thornton, which ironically is back on the team now, which is really funny. Tyquan Thornton goes, George Pickens goes, and Alec Pierce goes. And then you take Sky Moore. It's like the run on wide receivers began, and we got stuck with the one that we might not have wanted. If this was truly the guy they wanted, and I think in the early reports they said he was the guy they wanted, why? He was out of Western Michigan. I don't like taking small school wide receivers. I think you can take them later. I think it's a risk, especially the competition they're playing. And I think, unfortunately for Sky Moore, I think it was a lot more of a mental issue than it ever was a talent issue.
Yeah.
And I think that is a really rough sell.
And also, fun fact: who went directly after Sky Moore? Trey McBride.
I don't even talk. I didn't put that in there because I didn't want to even talk about it.
Trey McBride, baby.
My favorite tight end in the NFL is Trey McBride. I'm wearing a Kelsey jersey right now, but I love Trey McBride. I have him in Dynasty. I have him in every fantasy league. Like, I was such a big guy on Trey McBride out of the draft. But Beach, hire me. How about that? And I would love Trey McBride and Kelsey. And Trey McBride could go out wide anyway. Kadarius Toney trade. I only put this one here because people would say it otherwise. But I'm glad a lot of people agree that if they had to do it again, they'd do the Kadarius Toney trade again, because that move got us to the Super Bowl. Like, we needed wide receivers. He had flashes in that season, and he had that touchdown and that punt return. It was truly a magical season. And I think I would do it again for that 3rd and 6th round draft pick that we gave up to get Kadarius Toney. Now, does this say that maybe we should do that for Breece Hall as a rental? Who knows? But I digress. And people are using this as an example of why they want Breece.
I don't know. I feel like it's just something like, you spend draft capital on a guy that you see upside in, and the guy just wanted to spend more time rapping, I guess. Like, the guy just focused on the wrong things, and it didn't pan out.
Yeah. Well, that was this episode, guys, of Talkin Chop. It was a crushing defeat, don't get me wrong, but I still think, Super Bowl or bust. It's as always. I'm like Nick Wright when it comes to that stuff. Like, I really do like to just yap and
until we're actually out of the running, and like we're hanging up our helmets and putting away our stuff. I'm gonna be rooting for us all the way, baby.
Well, I'm gonna be rooting for us even if we're not in playoff contention.
Yeah, duh. But at the same time, it's like, unless we're getting booted out of the playoffs, I think it's Super Bowl or bust, baby.
Yeah, I think if we get to the playoffs, we're the team nobody wants to play. And I still think this team, and I saw this take by my friend Todd in the group chat that we're all in, I still think this roster is better than last year's. I still do. Like, and that might be crazy to say, but last year had a lot of fluky magic that got us to where we are today. Some might call it referees. I don't. I call it just winning in winning situations. We're on the flip side of that this year. We're losing 1-score games. That will not be a consistent factor of the season. That will get flipped. The season will get flipped. The Lombardi will be hosted, and everybody will cry and bitch and moan, and we will have another season. So
facts
indeed. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like the show, give us a like, give us a subscribe on the YouTube. I like it on the YouTube. You can see our beautiful faces. This No Shave November, I was going to mention it at the top of the show. This is 3 days in. I already got
the little stubble going on, man.
And Garett's got a freaking almost Santa beard at this point. But
I should have shaved at the on Halloween, but I just forgot.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, you're already cheating. You got a head start. But Garett's going to be rocking the full-on Santa beard by the end of the No Shave November.
Of course, but as always.
Be sure to listen to us on Spotify. Do it in the car. Do it in the shower. Be sure to subscribe to YouTube. All the jazz. And we're going to beat the Broncos next week. Or, I mean, the week after next week, because it's a bye week.
Because we have a bye.
And bye-bye from Talkin Chop.
That was a crazy transition.
It's been a day of crazy transitions.